I think it's a natural tendency to want to shut down people you disagree with or people who use words that you don't like. It's just our natural defense system. But I oftentimes like to remind folks that shutting others down doesn't actually advance justice. It doesn't advance the conversation any. It just stops it. And even though it might be more comfortable at the moment because you hear something you don't like, there's this kind of visceral reaction to negative language or words. We have to realize that we have to move beyond stopping the pain and actually addressing the wounds, the actual things that drive pain. So in other words, instead of just focusing on the bad language, focus on the bad policies, on the bad culture, on the institutions that perpetuate hate or offensiveness. Otherwise, you'll never eradicate it. The funny thing about our case is that Asian Americans never had a problem with it. Our community loved it. They embraced it. Activists had been using the term in this kind of self-empowered way for decades. But it was actually a government official who wanted to be offended on our behalf, who decided that they knew better than the collective voices of all Asian Americans. 17 million of us in this country did not know as much as this government official because he had the power of Wikipedia, and he actually quoted from white supremacist websites, thinking that he knew better. And that's the problem when the government can become too paternalistic. When they can become too productive, they start intruding on our actual rights. And for me, that includes the dignity of making those choices of what's best for ourselves. So when I speak with young people about freedom of speech these days and where the law should be, I always ask them, instead of thinking who should be punished, you should think instead about what would be the most fair, what laws are most fair. And I always go to John Rawlings, a philosopher who wrote A Theory of Justice. He says the rules that are the most fair are the ones that we would all agree to, no matter who was in charge. And a lot of the people, say, on the left, who right now really don't like the current president and the administration, I would say, do you want that person in charge of deciding what's offensive or not? Probably not. And on the other side of the coin, when there's a progressive in office, a lot of conservatives don't want that person making those decisions. So where do we draw the line? Well, the reality is that line can't be a fixed point defined by anyone in the government. It has to be decided by the community. We have to allow these ideas to be expressed and to be debated, not shut down, because that's how we can actually approach this idea of justice and fairness.